What does your firm actually look like in 2 years? I don't mean what software you're using or how many clients you have. I mean the structure, the org chart. Who does what? Who reviews whom? And how work moves from start to finish. Because something I read last week made me stop and really think about that question. And I need you to think about it too. A go-to-market strategist named Rick Colletta published an article arguing that the traditional org chart has become the most expensive piece of technical debt in most businesses. Not because people aren't good at their jobs, because the entire structure, roles, review layers, handoffs, approval chains were designed for a world where every step required a human. And when AI collapses the cost of doing the work, those layers don't get faster. They become drag. Now here's the number that hit me. He reported that teams moving from role-based execution to single owner systems, where one person owns a process end to end instead of passing it through multiple roles, typically reduce cycle times by 40 to 70%. Not by working harder, not by adding more tools, by eliminating the waiting, the translation, and the rework that happens between steps. The gain comes from removing coordination. And if you run a CAS practice, that should land hard because the structure he's describing, juniors execute, seniors review, managers review the reviewers, and partners sign off, that is the org chart that most of us are running right now. Let me make this concrete. Think about your monthly close process. A staff accountant categorizes transactions, a senior reviews them, a manager reviews the senior's review, and a partner glances at the final product before it goes out to the client. 4 people touching the same file, each one adding a thin layer of oversight that made sense when categorization was manual and errors were common. Now run that same workflow with AI handling first pass categorization at 95% plus accuracy. The staff accountant's role shifts to exception handling. The senior's review catches less because there's less to catch. The manager's review becomes a formality, but all 4 people are still on the payroll, still in the chain, still adding cycle time to a deliverable that could have been done in a fraction of the time by one person who owns the process end to end. Now, that is not a technology problem. That is an org chart problem. And every firm carrying that structure is paying for coordination that no longer produces quality, it produces delay. Now here is where it gets more uncomfortable. It's not just the execution layer that's scaling. There's a platform called MyClone that lets knowledge professionals build AI agents trained on their own thinking, their frameworks, their judgment. Consultants and advisors are creating AI versions of themselves that clients can interact with without waiting for the human's calendar. Now, I haven't used the platform myself, but the concept is worth paying close attention to because it forces a question every CAS practice owner needs to sit with. If AI can handle the execution and approximate your expertise, what's left? What part of your value requires you, specifically you, in the room? And the answer is accountability. Someone's name on the file. Someone answering the call when the IRS or the CRA sends a letter or makes a phone call. Someone who knows the client well enough to say that number doesn't look right before the client even asks. We call it the ringable neck. Human judgment backed by professional responsibility is what remains defensible when both execution and expertise become scalable. But here's the honest part. Most firms haven't built their structure around accountability. They've built it around layers of review that proxy for accountability without actually being it. So what does the new structure look like? The firms that figure this out won't have traditional org charts. They'll have something closer to what the tech world is calling end-to-end ownership. One AI native operator owns a complete process from input to deliverable. AI handles the repeatable steps, and the human handles judgment, exceptions, and client relationships. In CAS terms, one person owning a client's full monthly close from bank feed to financial statements. AI doing the categorization, the reconciliation, the first pass review. The humans doing the thinking. Not 4 people in a review chain. One operator with the tools, the training, and the authority to deliver. And this does not mean fewer people. It means fundamentally different roles. Your seniors become operators who manage AI workflows instead of reviewing junior work. And your managers, and this is the shift I think that matters most, your managers become practice architects. Instead of sitting in approval chains, they're designing delivery systems. They're deciding which workflows get rebuilt around AI, how client data flows through the practice, where human judgment is essential, and where it's just habit. That's a higher value role than reviewing someone else's review. It's also a role that doesn't exist yet in most firms, which means the firms that create it first gain a structural advantage that compounds every single month. Now, here's the part that tells you that this isn't a future problem. When KPMG used the existence of AI as a leverage to force Grant Thornton into a 14% audit fee reduction, not because they had automated their audit, but because everyone now knows that AI changes the economics, they wrote a playbook any buyer of professional services can use. Your clients don't need to understand AI. They just need to ask one question. If AI makes this work cheaper, why am I paying the same rate? That question is already in the market. The firms still organized around manual review layers and volume-based billing are the most exposed. Not just to AI disruption, but to simple negotiating conversations they are not structurally prepared to win. Your practice doesn't need another AI tool. It needs a structural rethink of how work flows, who owns it, and where your team's time actually creates value. And if you don't know where to start with that, that is exactly what our practice transformation program is built for. It's 15 days. We map your current delivery model, identify where AI compresses your workflows, and build the systems your team needs to operate in the new structure. No theory. You walk out on day 15 with a working roadmap and someone on your team who owns it. Go to the aiaccountant.ai to sign up or get more information. The org chart you're running was built for a different era. The question isn't whether it changes, it's whether you redesign it or your clients force it. Start this week.